Literally no one and nothing will ever make me as viscerally angry. I read the first three Akatar books in the Christmas special back in October. It's March. I read this chapter, took one good whiff of it, and then threw it across the room, and it sat and rotted in the darkest, deepest corner of my house. Nesta pissed me off. I loved the Akatar characters, specifically. Who do you think is my favorite? Comment down below. Who do you think is my favorite Akatar? Started with Christmas City and was going to read two 800-page books to get to CC3 because I knew the first chapter of CC3 was going to have a specific character in it. And at this point, I'm accepting crumbs. I am like a dog under the table. Give me all the crumbs. I will take any crumb that she will give us for this character. You should probably know who it is by now. I have some pretty polarizing views about the Akatar characters, okay? And I will fight to the death on them. I don't give a fuck. I hate Nesta. I still do. So tell me why I finished this in a day. I finished this in a... It is 751 pages. I finished this in a day. And I hate her with a fiery passion. Do you see what I did there? Okay, so funny. Haha. I missed the characters. I missed them so much. And I reread the series, and I suddenly was like, you know what? I think I can stomach it. It tasted bad in my mouth. I wanted to go. I was gagging the entire time, but I got it down. And I got it down in a day. I've heard a lot of theories and also discourse around other characters in this book that are not the main character, such as, basically Jesus Christ himself, Rhysand. I don't like Rhysand in this book. Why did I like him more in this book than I did the others? Why did I like him better when he communicated and worked with the worst character? But the reason why Akatar is so good is because it's a well-rounded story. Like, Farah is a good, strong woman lead, because even if she is soft, it doesn't mean that you're weak. She's very strong. She got what she wanted in the end. And Akatar is such a basic, like, love story in a way, in the way that girl, so kind, soft-spoken, does everything for everybody else, goes out, saves the world for the good of the community, and then is completely and utterly fulfilled by her mate. This book made it so much more complicated. I thought that I could skip this book. But why do you hate Nesta? Because she's the oldest, and if you want something, go and fucking get it. Don't sit around. Obviously. Isn't that the obvious thing we all should do as humans? If you want something, you go and do it. Just like your youngest, not even younger, youngest sister did. She saved your ass while you sat around. She was waiting for nothing. I mean, that's what it looked like from Farah's perspective, right? Like, it looked like she was waiting for nothing. That's why we hated her. Farah was so forgiving, and a lot of people liked Nesta because they too are forgiving. And Nesta wanted something, but she was just languished. And people are forgiving and have that kind of empathy. I am so mad at Nesta, and I hate her. She is unredeemable in my eyes, and I will not have empathy for her, because if I have empathy for her, that means I have empathy for myself. And that's unexcusable. Farah, who when she saw a problem, she didn't have any other thought other than to go and find, go and seek, go and do to change it and to fix her problem. But with Nesta, it wasn't her fault. Nesta sat around doing nothing for so long. Why would any sane person do that? Why would some sane person who wants to take care of their family and take care of themselves sit around doing nothing for 8 years? If it was her fault, then she would have gotten up, right? Just like how Farah's mother told her, you need to take care of them. And Farah got up and fixed the problem, because if there was no food, it would be her fault. What fault did Nesta have? Nesta wasn't at fault. She wasn't the one who lost all the money. Generations ago, the Fae killed all the humans. So in fact, she was indoctrinated into believing that this life was evil. She didn't do anything. It wasn't her fault. So of course she sat down and did nothing. Of course she sat down and did nothing. Because what sane person would say, I'm not at fault, but I'm going to get up and ruin my life, give up, sacrifice everything in order to save everybody, even though it's everybody's fault, not mine? Who would do that? Nesta was bitching and moaning about all of these new powers and abilities in this life that was forced on her. Nesta sat in that house for 8 years, thinking all of this is happening to me. Why should I go and change it? It's not my fault. It's happened to me. It's not fair. Why do I have to be the one to pick myself up if life, if people, if others are the ones who knocked me down? But then she realized that she sat for too long because suddenly her remaining family who's still alive is High Fae, which they used to hate, and Farah is getting all the glory from it. All of this happened to her. She had no choice in anything. She sat with all of the violent, uncontrollable emotions just reverberating in her mind. Life happens to her. Farah saves them all. And everybody chooses Farah because Farah is the one who is proactive to go and do things about it. All she saw was, Farah got up and saved us when I sat around doing nothing. Who am I? It wasn't our fault. It wasn't our fault. Life happened to me. And I just sat around. Life happened to Farah, and she's younger than me, and she got up and she did all this. What about me? What does that make me? I'm nothing. So Nesta begins to spiral. And she says, I'm tired of sitting on the sidelines, and apparently I have this bullshit power that everybody says is the most incomprehensible thing because there are powers unlike any Fae has ever seen. How do you know? Because I've just sat around doing nothing because life happened to me. And so she goes out, she goes with Azrael and Cassian to find the mask, which, that's part of the lore I'm not explaining because it's too deep, because it's too much. She finds a 15,000-year-old, I don't know the name of it. This is what I imagine the Kelpie looking like. Which, I don't know if that makes it scarier or funny. The Kelpie is known to people and then kill them slowly. Alright, pop off. So the Kelpie gets her, shoves her into the swamp. She's alone for miles and miles and miles in every direction. She is alone. At the bottom of the swamp, this Kelpie is on her. And she's like, this is how I go. And then she remembers. She remembers how she was violated. She remembers how she was forced to become High Fae. She remembers whenever she lost her fortune. She remembers how she lost her mom. She remembers how the king of Hybern killed her dad in front of her. She remembers how life happened to her. And she said, no, I'm tired of letting things happen to me. And I need to get up and I need to happen to someone. Because life has happened to me. Why can't... So she ripped the Kelpie's head off. And honestly, respect. Like, same. Me too. Yeah, I would do that. And so she rips the Kelpie's head off with the mask on her face. She ascends from the water. And when she ascends from the water, a legion of 150,000 zombified men come out of the water with her. Like an entire army comes out of the water. Who sees this? 2 men who are already simping for her. Who are already on their knees. Okay? Cassian and Azrael see this and they're like, damn. Who was she doing it for? Who was she doing it for? Farah saved the world. She did it for her sisters. She did it for Rhys. She did it for Tamlin. She did it for the Fae. She did it for the humans. She did it for everybody. Who was Nesta doing that for? Why did Nesta tear the Kelpie's head off if she was at the bottom of the swamp alone? She wasn't doing it for anybody. She was doing it for herself. Because she realized that when life happens to you, sometimes you're the one who saves you. You're the one on the other side. She was waiting for so long. She hated Rhys. She hated Rhys so much because Rhys was on the other side for Farah. Rhys grabbed Farah and saved her out of her misery. She said, what about me? Nobody's saving me. Life happened to me. It's not my fault. So why don't I have someone who's saving me? In fact, she had Cassian. Cassian is her mate. Cassian pulled her out, but she said no because she still had that feeling of being broken inside. She felt like she was still nothing. She said, "What is wrong with me?" Farah is clearly, she's fine. She's completely content and satisfied. Why do I not feel content? Why do I feel like I'm unsatisfied even when I find my mate? Because there was no one else who was going to do it for her. There was no one else who was going to save her, even after she was safe, even after her sister saved her, the High Lord saved her, even after she found her mate. How does that change how she feels when life still happened to her? She had to pick herself up and she had to happen back to it. She had to happen back to life. She meets her two best friends. They're on the mountain. She tells them, and she realizes, she's like, we're gonna have to climb this fucking mountain. We're climbing it, and we're gonna win. We're gonna be the first girls to win it. And Gwen says, absolutely not, I'm not doing it, whatever. I'm pretty sure it was. She knocks Gwen out, puts Gwen on Emery's back and says, go. She forces them to go. They get out of the rite. She was stuck on that mountain with the Illyrians during the rite. She realized this time no one was going to save her. With the Kelpie is kind of a foreshadowing to the rite. She said, what I learned from the Kelpie, that's the way she had to treat the rite whenever she was stuck on that mountain. She said Cassian wasn't coming to save her. No one was coming to save her. Not Emery, not Gwen. They're winning to prove to themselves that they can save themselves. Because nobody else is going to save them. She said, fuck Cassian. In a situation like this, he saves her, they all die. If that doesn't make sense, then why are you even here at this point? You have to have read this book to understand. She said, we win this whole damn thing. We win this to prove to ourselves that it can be done. Because she has to prove to herself again that she can happen to life. That not all three of them can make it up to the mountain. It's a whole long thing. Not all three of them are able to make it. There's someone chasing them. She says to Emery, I can't go. Emery says, just come with us. And she says, consider it the repayment of a debt. She said, of what debt? And she said, for being my friends, because I don't deserve it. It's as if she's realized that whenever she sat idle for 9 years, she broke her relationships, she broke her way of making solid friendships and connections, she broke her way of navigating this life socially in any kind of way. And so she said, I don't deserve it. I don't deserve friends if I have destroyed my life because I waited for someone to come and save me. Of course, Emery said, there's no debt, Nesta. So all is to say at the end, Nesta gives up her powers in order to save Farah and her child, because the child and Farah were going to die during childbirth. First time I read this, I looked through it. Honestly, I read the first chapter and then I skimmed through the entire thing. I said, what a fuck-ass, bitch-ass ending. You're telling me this bitch who complained and absolutely hated, she said she hated Faye the entire time. She hated her powers. She didn't know it. She didn't know what her powers could do. She trained them. She didn't care. You're telling me she made a sacrifice and gave it up to save her sister, and then suddenly her sister's like, I forgive you? That was my first impression of this. The second impression of this is still the same. You should read it if you want. The subplot in the story with Reese and Farah having a baby, and everybody not telling Farah that the baby's going to kill her during childbirth, I understand it, and I'm not actually mad at it like a lot of people are. I get where Reese is coming from. Whatever. It's a little bit too Breaking Dawn Part 1 for me. It's a little bit too Breaking Dawn. So that kind of gave me the ick. But that aside, out of rage, Nesta tells Farah that she's going to die. And I think that was the catalyst of Nesta realizing, oh my god, like what have I become? What have I become? Sitting idle for all of this time, doing nothing? I've just been festering with this rage to the point where I lost myself and I lost who was I before? Who am I now? Why do I do this to people? It's because I'm mad at people for being able to move on in life when everything happened to them. How can they move on? So she took it out on Farah. And I feel like that was the catalyst of, because that was before the right, and before, I think it was after the Kelpie, or was it before? I don't remember. Look how thick this book is, bitch. You think I'm gonna, I don't remember. After she realizes that she happens to life now, that she's the one who picks herself up. No man is gonna be on the other side, okay? Best friend not gonna be on the other side. She needs to pick herself up, and she picked herself up, and she did it. She realizes that she can't undo the things that had happened. She can't undo the things that she had done. She can't undo the anger that she felt toward Farah, the frustration and hatred she felt for her father. She can't do any of that. What she can do is become the person that she might have been before. She did give up this power. She gave up this supernatural power that ushered in her success faster, I think. Because I think that her having this power was more of a crutch for her to get through, for her to understand, I'm going to happen to life. I'm going to be the one who saves myself. I'm going to have to be the one who gets through this victorious. And with her power, it helped her get through these weak times when she got stronger. So now when she gave up her power for Farah and the baby, she said, you know, I don't even need it anymore. I don't need my crutch, because when life happens to me, I'll happen to it, no question asked. And so I think it is a good sacrifice, if it's a sacrifice at all. Maybe it was like her training wheels. Maybe Farah's real power or something comes after this Fae power leaves. She's thinking about all of them. Her father died for her with love in his heart, and she had nothing but hatred. She felt like she didn't deserve any love at all because she sat on the sidelines expecting someone to pull her out. She decided that she would fight for it, that people were still going to give her this love, and people were still going to do things for her, and if she didn't think she deserved it, she was still going to prove to them and say, you know, I'm not going to be that person anymore. I'm not going to sit around anymore, and I'm going to pick myself up. A shadow passed overhead, followed by a whisper of wings, and Nesta didn't know to look, and Nesta didn't need to know. And Nesta, oh my god, get the dyslexic girl to read? You guys are asking the dyslexic girl to read to you. Okay, I don't know. That's on you. Oh damn, wait, did I turn the page? What the fuck is happening? What is going on? Damn, dyslexic girl came and chose which page we're going to be reading on. Okay. A swift shadow passed overhead, followed by a whisper of wings, and Nesta didn't need to look to know who sailed high above, making sure all was safe, that she was safe. It wasn't until she saved herself, she redeemed herself, that she could feel safe. To maintain that safety, she had Cassian. Cassian was the one who put her, so she didn't need Cassian. She doesn't need anybody except herself. She doesn't need anybody or anything, but she has Cassian, and she accepts him because she realizes that it's okay if she has love. I'm editing, and I literally just realized I didn't even talk about Reese. I started talking about Reese, and I was going to definitely talk about it at the end, but then I was just so enthralled with the ending of the book. The reason why Rhysand developed as he did in this book, and the reason why I liked Rhysand's character so much more, was when he talked to Nesta, it pissed everybody off. But to me, I think he treated her as if he knew her. He was like, I see myself in you because life is shit. And life has hurt me too. And I'm just as angry at it as you are. He gave her more tough love, which I know a lot of people didn't like. And I don't think they understood that was kind of his character in the book. It was, I see myself in you. Now pick yourself up because you'll destroy yourself with the amount of visceral rage that you have. So, this book fucking sucks. And I hate it. I hate Nesta.